Hey guys, it's me again, Jenny with Empowerment Through Trials. We've been talking about therapy. For those who have chimed in and participated, I really appreciate it, and empowering each other during our difficult times. Now, I was really thinking about this of how am I going to convey my story in the most rawest, pure form when it happened over 2 years ago, and how much further I've come along. Let me explain to you the reason why I'm telling it now rather than when I was in the thick of it. First of all, I was in the thick of it. I had so much going on, I couldn't even process my own thoughts. The second most important is I had a lot of legal things on my shoulders and on my mind and on my heart that I was actually really afraid. And to this point, I still am quite afraid, but I'm learning to overcome that fear of sharing my story and not letting it affect any legal liability that I might have. So I will be cautious in how I share what I share for the sake of relationships and people in my life. Not that I necessarily personally care about some of these people who did some awful, awful things to me, but for the fact that my son is involved with them and trying to be respectful of that. There's a difference of a maturity level of when you love your child to be able to get to that point. And so as I go through this, I can be as raw as possible with my emotions and what I was going through to a certain legal extent, if that makes sense. There are some people who know a lot about my story, but I try to keep it pretty private for the sake of my son's ability to have a relationship with his son. My son's ability to have a relationship with his biological father. But being married now, I think, has given me a lot more strength to be able to be open about my story, because I think I'm feeling a little bit more secure in my future and where I'm going. Not that marriage did that for me, but I feel like my ball is rolling again. And those of you who may not feel like your ball is rolling, I don't want you to feel like you're always going to be stuck. It wasn't that I felt like I was stuck. I guess I'm just feeling a little bit more confident in telling my story, and I don't know why being married causes that. I don't know. I wish that it didn't. I wish I could have been able to speak up about my story sooner, but either way, here I am, and I know a lot of you might have questions about my story, so feel free to message me about anything that you're struggling with, that asking me how I coped with it, how I managed that certain feeling or emotion that you might be able to relate to. I'm not here to be a therapist. I don't claim to be a professional by any means. I just happen to know quite a bit about these things since I lived it myself, right? I'm sitting here at my desk and I have my journal out. This journal I started, in 2007. So as you can only imagine, I have a lot of things in here. Skips my mission. I served a mission. And so this is about how far I am right now in my journal. And I brought it out because I like to be reminded of the thoughts and emotions and feelings that I was going through. And there's so many things to focus on, and there's going to be bits and pieces that I'm going to focus on here and there and here and there. So it's not going to be exactly like a chronological order story, but what I feel is best to share. So that's my journal. Was something, a really big thing for me to keep up on. Obviously, I didn't write in it every single day. Obviously, I wasn't trying to be faithful, but it was a time where I was able to compress my thoughts and feelings. There also was a time where I rejected my journal. I wanted nothing to do with it. In fact, I hated my journal. I felt like it did me wrong because I thought it was something I was doing while I was still married, and I had to process through that emotion of that it's okay to still write my feelings down because they're not going to reject me once I put them on paper. It's amazing how we cope with certain things and how we reject things and we hate things and we grab onto certain other things. Throughout my entire life, if you've known me, I am someone who loves to journal and to write. I'm good with my words, and I'm good at putting them down and putting my thoughts and emotions into words. But for some reason, I felt like my thoughts and my emotions did me wrong when I went through my divorce. But I am glad that I did keep up with it a lot and writing through it. So I'm going to be reflecting a lot about what went on with my thoughts in my journal. Sorry, I skipped my thoughts there. because there's like multiple sections here, right? And maybe you can tell me what you guys would prefer more. I have a section of like how I overcame, my marriage and found another healthy relationship with another male in this life, or being a single mom and thriving as a single mom from once being a stay-at-home mom to defining who Jenny was again, without being a mom and without being in a relationship, being me. So there's almost like there's 3 different sections to this story, and trying to combine them all in one, right? Because I am a mother and I am a wife now, and I am me. And I didn't let go of any of those things, but I had to let go of all of those things in order to find me again. And one of the biggest things I say is being a mom doesn't define me. Being a wife doesn't define me. I define me. And those 3 things are going to work cohesively together. Another thing that I did, so this is almost like, this is me, right? And a part of me is finding a relationship with somebody else, right? There's not a lot about relationship in here, but it's more about like me. But then I have this one that I have bought for my son, and for him to read when he is at the appropriate age. Now, I've kept it very vague to the details of what was going on in my divorce. I've obviously written this one a lot more than I did this one during my divorce. But this was the ability for me to write to my son and say certain things of like, Christmas, you're not here with me. But I want you to know how much I love you, and I want you to have fun wherever you're at, and what it means to feel like being different, and to be okay with being different, and to not fit the box, and just trying to walk him through, that I was there with him, especially when he may have issues with certain people in his life that hurt me, that might hurt him, and how I coped with it, and how I handled it, and how I rose above it, and how to become better because of these things. This is just kind of my son's empowerment journal for him. And it also gives me therapy. I wrote in it a couple days before I got married. And, talking about the new exciting chapters. Obviously, I talked more about getting married previously, but what that meant for him, and having a new a father figure in his life, and how excited I am. But it's just lots of little things. And, I don't know if I necessarily want to read one out there, but I label all of my entries. And so like this entry, it's called We Walk the Same Paths. Or I have one that says Mommy Cried Too, or A Better Me, and What Time Does, and just things like that. And Benson slept in my bed the majority of my divorce process. In fact, we shared a bed at my parents' house, and then when I moved out, he slept in my king bed with me. Lots of different things. As you can imagine, I could talk for hours, but I just wanted to start off with having you guys understand where I'm going to be at in explaining this process and this journey as I move forward. So hopefully you all like it, and stay tuned. Leave your comments and questions below. Talk to you guys later.